Minister, thank you for your time. Now, Australians, as we keep being told, are apparently the worst internet pirates in the world. What exactly are you suggesting should be done to stop the amount of TV, film, music, other content that is being stolen online?
Well, I think the first thing we've got to do is really an exercise in education, David, that, so that as people understand that illegally downloading a movie that you haven't paid for, that you don't have a right to, is the same as shoplifting. It's stealing. So that's critically important. You know, there are some people that think that will try to tell you that everything on the internet should be free. Well, that's like saying everything in the supermarket should be free. Now, so I think the critical thing is better education and awareness, and also some form of notification when people are seen or observed to be downloading pirated content. And we've mentioned in the discussion paper schemes that are operating in the UK, in New Zealand, and there are a number of other countries too. Now, it's very controversial what works and what doesn't. There are some people in the content industry that would like ISPs to be required to terminate people's accounts if they're found to be downloading unlawful content. The public reaction to that in countries that have contemplated it has been, as you can imagine, incandescent. So,
sure, but and you're not going that far here.
No, we're absolutely not. But
what are you saying that internet service providers should do when piracy is going on?
Well, let me give you an example of what the New Zealanders do as a good local, solution. What they do is content providers can identify the IP addresses, which is the number allocated to your device when you're using the internet by your ISP. They can identify that a movie has been unlawfully downloaded or uploaded to or from that IP address.
Is it that easy? The ISP can tell when something's being illegally downloaded?
No, the ISP doesn't tell. This is something that the content owners do. They get into one of these torrent swarms where the content is being shared. They use a tool like DirectT. There's a number of others, and they can identify that a particular piece of content is going to or from an IP address.
Right,
and
so the content owner, the property owner, would be the police, if you like, finding out when something's being illegally downloaded.
That's right, and they know that this IP address belongs to a given ISP. So they can then go to that ISP and say, look, we want you to send a letter, a cautionary letter to the account holder. And then in New Zealand, after the third letter, after a third infringement, if you like, then the ISP says to its customer, look, this is the third time we've written to you. We're going to tell the copyright owner, give them your name and address, as it were, and then it's up to the copyright owner to take action against them. And there's the availability of taking the person to court. Now, a lot of people in the content industry say, why should they have to take people to court? Why shouldn't the ISP just do or impose all the sanctions for them? The ISPs, on the other hand, say, hang on, if it's your content, your valuable content that is being stolen, you're the one that is suffering the massive financial loss. Surely it's up to you to to take proceedings just as you would if somebody was shoplifting or stealing your car.
Sure. And where do you sit then on this question?
Well, look, our position is, the government's position is, as stated in the discussion paper, we don't propose, I should say, that there should be sanctions such as cutting people off from the internet.
What about slowing down their speeds, that sort of thing?
Well, look, that is something that's been canvassed. Let's let the debate pursue. I think that the practical ability to do that is very hard, I have to say. I think it would be met with enormous resistance, both from the public and the industry. I mean, look, we got to have a laser-like focus on the problem here. What is the problem? The problem is that valuable content is being stolen, unauthorizedly used. Who loses from that? The owners of the content. It's a big deal. It's not just, you know, Rupert Murdoch and, you know, Graham Burke and, you know, the big studios. It is actors and producers and sound recordists and the whole team.
The whole industry.
The whole industry, right?
But it's what you're talking
ultimately
about here,
it's that industry. I think the cost of this and the cost has got to be kept, any mechanism has got to be very, very cost effective, but the cost really should be where the loss occurs, and that of course is with the content owner. There is another part of this too, by the way, that is because we've talked a bit about this is notices to people. This involves file sharing, you know, and using BitTorrent, for example. There's also the circumstance where people are downloading bootleg content from websites, often outside of the jurisdiction, outside of Australia, which are either selling or giving away or making available pirated content. Now, one of the things we've canvassed is providing a clear mechanism for a rights owner to go to a court and seek an injunction so that the ISP would block access to that in much the same way as they block access to sites, you know, the child pornography sites or terrorist sites.
And if they don't, would the ISP then be legally liable? Well,
the ISP would have to comply with the order of the court. Yeah, I mean, it would be in the same position as anyone else that doesn't comply with a court order. But, I mean, a lot of people will say, David, in response to this, look, there are a million technical ways people can get around this, and I want to be very clear. We're not talking about you're not ever going to eliminate internet piracy any more than you'll eliminate shoplifting.
I want to ask you on a separate matter on cross-media and the so-called reach rules that you have been weighing up. Are you any closer to a decision on what you're going to do there, whether you will move on that, on changes in media landscape this year?
Well, I don't want to forecast that, David, other than to say that, you know, we have a big deregulatory agenda, a red tape reduction agenda, as you know. That is a hallmark of the Abbott government. We're looking at each and every bit of regulation, wherever we can clear it out, get out of the way of business, let business get on with the job. We're doing that. We're talking to the industry intensely, and as you know, that consultation concludes, then I'll take a proposal to the cabinet. But
does any of this get pushed back by the?
I can't give a running commentary on it, much and all as I'm sure you'd like me to.
Appreciate that. Does any of this get pushed back by the long-running battles the government's having on the budget measures? Does that delay some of the other stuff you want to do?
No, it's certainly not. It's, you know, it's when we're all doing our best, and you know, you've seen the efforts. My own efforts with some of the crossbenchers in respect to the FOFA matter.
We have.
You know, we're all working very hard to get the budget through the Senate, and Joe's out there talking to the crossbenchers, and we're all doing that.
You're doing that too?
Absolutely. We're all using whatever arts of persuasion or charm we have to talk to the crossbenchers, and but we're very focused on the budget, but the whole business of government keeps on going on. You know, the critical thing is, you know, there's always one issue is in the headlines and the headlights for a day or a week, but apart from that, the rest of the government is hard at work. Everybody is flat out with their reform agenda. Let
me ask you then, just finally, on a separate matter outside your portfolio, but it's a big issue today. Kids in detention. There have been some pretty damning allegations before a Human Rights Commission inquiry about statistics on mental health problems amongst children being hidden by the department. How worried are you about this and the whole issue of the number of children in detention and what's happening to them?
Well, look, we are all of us, you know, whether we're parents or not, but I guess particularly parents, are so alert to our responsibilities to children. And Scott Morrison is keenly aware of that. I don't want to, you know, trespass on Scott's portfolio responsibilities here, other than to say that Scott is a very conscientious, compassionate and committed minister, and he is determined to ensure that children under his care are properly looked after, and that responsibility weighs very, very heavily on him.
And are you satisfied they are being properly looked after?
Well, that is I am satisfied that Scott is discharging his responsibilities conscientiously, and as far as the children is concerned, with a special concern.
Malcolm Turnbull, we'll have to leave it there. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks.